All right, well, it's Find Five Ugly Five time. We do it every week here on 97.3 ESPN, the Sports Bash. We give you our 5 best teams and our 5 worst teams in the NFL. And I have a feeling, I know based on my own entries, Ryan and Broads, that I had to wrestle with these ugly 5. And even the last 5 of the Fine 5. We've had to wrestle about the past couple weeks. And then with Hunter's picks yesterday, I have no idea what to expect who's in his Fine 5 and Ugly 5.
Well, don't look.
It's going to get weird.
All right. What do we usually start with, the ugly or the fine? I forget.
We always start ugly.
All right. Let's start off with you. Why don't you start with your ugliest of the... Now, this is how it works, Hunter, just in case you know. With the ugly 5, don't give us your ugliest team first. Give us your 5th ugliest team. Meaning the team that might actually be decent, but they're closer to being decent than they are being the worst team in the league. You get that?
Absolutely.
And then we work our way up to 1. All right? So go ahead. Ryan, start us off.
All right, here we go. And this pains me to put this team in the ugly 5, but I got to do it because I've liked what they did earlier in the year, but they've kind of been a mess since, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. So they come in at number 5 for me at 3-9-1. I like what Cliff Kingsbury has done. It's crazy to say with a 3-9 team with the 1 tie, but I also like Murray. He's impressed me at times, but they're not getting it done with 3 wins, so they come in at number 5.
I'm going to go with the Lions, although I was actually contemplating the Falcons, believe it or not, because I just think the Falcons are a dumpster fire of a squad. Even though they have 4 wins, I don't think that they're very good. But I'm going to go with the Lions. They don't have their starting quarterback, so...
You're penalizing them for that loss to... wait, who did they just lose to? I forget who it was. I thought it was a good team that they lost to. They've been scoring a lot more points lately.
Are you talking about the Falcons?
Yes. Well, that's your team, right?
Yeah, no, I went with the Lions.
The Lions. Oh,
yes.
the
Falcons I was
fault.
going to put in there, but I did not. I was contemplating the 2.
The Falcons started off as my who's in, who's out NFC South winner at the start of the year. And then about 3 weeks ago, they were in my ugly 5 for about 3 weeks, but they're out. So it pains me to do this, Ryan, for you for Arizona, but because I like the way they fight. But honestly, I can only find 4 teams that I think are worse than them, so I put the Miami Dolphins in the 5. They just lost to the Jets.
Yep.
Like any momentum you had about beating the Eagles, you went back to becoming the Miami Dolphins by losing to the Jets. So that's my 5th ugly team.
Listen, you can fight, but it doesn't mean you're good at fighting, right?
You can fight, but it doesn't mean... Yes, that's correct.
All right, cool.
And by the way...
I just made that up.
We just all had different 5th worst teams. Now, for the 3 weeks or so, we just all gave our Fine 5 Ugly 5 because we had the same teams just in a different order.
Yep.
I have a feeling that's not going to be the case here.
No, a lot of movement, especially in the Ugly 5. Number 4 for me, Mosher Broads, is the Miami Dolphins. And I thought about the Jacksonville Jaguars, but yes, I say wire. I'm going to go Miami, number 4.
All right.
I also say Jaguar.
Yeah.
I went with the Redskins. I know that they put together a couple wins before that last loss, but I'm still going with the Washington Redskins. I don't believe that they are actually a solid team because of those wins.
Well, for my 4th worst team, I actually did go with the Jaguars. And I got to be honest with you, I actually contemplated having them in the top 3, and they haven't even been in my ugly 5. But I just kind of woke up and smelled the roses the other day. I was looking at their schedule. They have scored 13 or fewer points in like 5 straight games. And they've lost their last 4 games by 20-something or more points.
But they have Nick Foles.
And they have Minshew Mania. How'd that work out? No, listen, they lost 45-10 to the Chargers. I had the Chargers in my ugly 5 like 3 weeks ago. They just got blitzed at home by them. And the week before, they lost 28-11 to the Bucs. They lost 42-20 to the Titans, 33-13 to Indianapolis, and 26-3 to Houston. This team hasn't competed with anybody in over a month and a half. They literally could be the number 1 or 2 worst team. But I'm only going to start them off at 4 here because they're just getting back in to my ugly 5. Hunter?
I have the Miami Dolphins at number 3.
Oh.
Yeah, I do. I even though they beat the Eagles, you mentioned it, they just lost after that for any momentum that they could have had. They're bad. I mean, they're just a bad football team. I think I actually do like their head coach though. I do. I think that he's done a good job for what it's worth. And I think
do too.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about his culture that he built. But as a whole squad and where they're at now, they are number 3 on my list.
All right, number 3 for me, Mosher Broads, is the Washington Redskins, the Eagles' opponent this week. 3-10, holdouts, Trent Williams, injuries to Jordan Reed. They're a mess down there, so we all know what their season has looked like. They come in at number 3 for me.
Now, where did you have the Lions again? Did you have them yet?
I do not. I did not.
I had them at 5.
You had them at 5. Okay. Only because Washington beat the Lions, if I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks ago. I was wondering if there was inconsistency there. That's okay. I have the Lions at number 3. And I tried to I actually think that they're not as awful as they seem, because they just played the Vikings and they lost only by 2 touchdowns, which for them on their third string quarterback is probably not the worst thing in the world. But I do think that the Jaguars and the Dolphins, and I left out Arizona and Washington, I think they would all beat the Lions. Washington did beat the Lions, so that's why I have them 3. I just don't think that, I think they're better than the 2 teams behind them and worse than the 2 teams I put ahead of them. All right, number 2. Ryan Rothstein.
Number 2 is the New York Giants, coming in at 2-11. They're an absolute mess. And do I need to say anything else? They lost to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Was that number 2 in Austin Powers reference?
Of course it was.
I love that movie. What a fantastic film. One of the top best
legendary.
Ever. But I also went with the Giants. They just continue to lose, and I think Pat Shurmur is going to lose his job because he has not done a good job whatsoever.
Well, I have a new number 2. Improving from the number 1 worst team down to number 2 for me is the Cincinnati Bengals. Because they've won more recently than my number 1 team. And wait till I give you a stat on my number 1 worst team, which I'll just start it off right now. I have the New York Giants as the worst team. And I'll have you all know, and they may have said this on the broadcast, but I don't see it, that the New York Mets have won a game more recently than the New York Giants.
Wow.
They're both won on the same day in September. It was the Mets who played at night and the Giants who played in the day. So the Mets, who won that game, have won more recently.
That's horrible.
Isn't
That's
that
horrible.
not the most awful thing ever?
Imagine sitting here today knowing the Phillies won a game before the Eagles did.
Yeah. No, not the Phillies and Eagles. Oh, you're saying imagine.
I said
no,
imagine
that would be
if
terrible.
Right, that would be horrible.
Oh my God, this place would be unbearable.
How do they do it up there? I mean, it's every year, really, right? I mean,
it's all you need to know.
It's all they know. Number 1 for me, the Cincinnati Bengals. Despite some good points, Mosher, by you, I just 1-12. You have 1 win, worst record in the NFL at this point. I got to put them number 1.
Yeah, me too. And what, you're benching Andy Dalton, and then you're bringing back Andy Dalton.
Oh, they're a dumpster fire.
Yeah, no doubt. It's crazy to think that Marvin Lewis was there for that long. Isn't that ridiculous, though? Like, I keep bringing up the head coaches with these squads, but I think that there's value in that because that's why the team is succeeding or not, for the most part, even though I praise the Dolphins, but that's a new regime. But I think it's crazy to think about how long he was really there in Cincinnati.
Now, if he was still coach, how many wins would they have this year?
1?
Probably.
Yeah, I'll give him 1.
All right,
Two.
Let's go to our fine 5. We'll start it off with number 5. Hunter Brody, who's your 5th best team in the NFL?
The Green Bay Packers.
Ooh.
Yes, the Green Bay Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers has a defense, if you will. Well, I don't know if it's as strong as he probably thought it was after week 1 and his comments, but I just think that they are going to win that division. As we talked about yesterday, I think they're a better team than the Vikings, and Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. So
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
that is true.
That's
one hell of a statement. One hell of a statement.
Existentialist comment.
Hot
Aaron
take.
Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
Did we get that recorded? My goodness. All right.
Breaking news sounder.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Rodgers is indeed Aaron Rodgers. That's not a man. Another Austin Powers quote. All right, number 5 for me is the New England Patriots at number 5. Very hesitantly did I put the Patriots in the top 5, but they've been faltering as of late. They still have 10 wins, 10-3 football team. They haven't scored 30 points in 6 straight games, 1 shy of tying the longest streak in the Belichick-Brady era. They're struggling. They could be heading towards a down spiral, but they're still the Patriots, and I can't leave them out.
All right, that's fair. I did leave the Patriots out. I started to drop them out, I think, 2 weeks ago, and nothing I've seen since has made me want to put them back
They're close.
in. Yeah, they would be like 5A, because they could theoretically beat my number 5 team, maybe, and I have the Vikings. So the Vikings to me is my 5th best team. I still think they're going to win the NFC North. Once they get Thielen back and playing and like being the Adam Thielen, I think they'll start to take off offensively again. So that's why I have them as my 5th best team. All right, so let's go to number 4. We'll start with you, Ryan.
Number 4 for me, sorry, Gil, San Francisco 49ers. For some obvious reasons that I'll get to in a few minutes, but they're playing great. Shanahan has them, cruising a very strong offense, 11-2. They look really strong, but they have another strong team in the same division. Some shaky performances by Garoppolo at times, although he's a stud. I have them at 4, and I'll get to some reasons later.
Okay.
How
much time do you think we have on this set? How many reasons are you going to get to later?
I mean, it's really all about me, so I'll make it work.
Well, the Rothstein hour, 4 o'clock, right after McMullen.
Yeah, right after you leave.
Go ahead.
I have the Chiefs. I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes are very talented together. Mm-hmm. And Pat Mahomes is indeed Pat Mahomes.
He is.
Yes.
But not Pat Mahomes Sr. He is Pat Mahomes Jr. Right?
No, but I just think that
not the Twins pitcher hair.
I think the way they're playing is definitely solid, and to go into New England again and to win again, and I know that they did this in the past and then it didn't work out later in the season, and I also understand that there were some controversial calls involved, but I just believe that the way that they're playing now, and for them to consistently go into New England, that can build confidence with this core over a couple years. So I wouldn't put it past them to make a legit run at this thing.
All right. I like your style of thinking because I have had the Chiefs in my Fine Five even when they went through a little bit of a rocky period. My number 4 is the Saints, who I've had a little higher in the past. I've knocked them down a little bit. Obviously, they lost to the 49ers 2 weeks ago, and they're not was it 2 weeks ago or this past weekend they lost to them? Were they?
Not sure.
Come on now. It's got to be, they lost over the weekend, right, to the 49ers. So I knocked them down a little bit. Yeah, I just got confused for a second. So I have them down from 2 to 4 now for that loss. So the Saints are still a good team. Sometimes I think there's something missing with them offensively, like Kamara hasn't had the greatest year, and I worry about their playoff viability because of it, but their defense is fantastic, so they're 4. All right, number 3, start us off. Hunter Brody.
I have the Saints. You mentioned their defense. I think their defense is legit, and it's a tough building to play in. If they're going to host these playoff games, then they can literally be for real, because that building is just electric. It's unbelievable. And to think that Alshon Jeffrey was 1 catch away from maybe Nick Foles making it happen last season.
Oh, to think.
Yes. But no, I do agree with you that maybe offensively they don't look as sharp as they probably should, but, anything can happen down the stretch when it matters. So I'm going to go with the Saints at number 3.
Number 3 for me, boys, is the Seattle Seahawks, and they've beaten San Francisco head up. They play them again to finish the season. I think they're going to win that game as well at home. Their next 2 games are Carolina and Arizona. I think they win out. They win the division. They have home games in the playoffs, and Russell Wilson is indeed Russell Wilson, so I expect them to make some noise.
Now, when are we going to come across a player who is not what we think he is? Just curious.
That won't happen in the Fine
Gotta
Five.
wait for it.
Maybe in the Ugly Five, we
There
could
you
have
go.
went with an example there.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is indeed Puppy Briscoe.
We can do something like that, right? Can we go back in time?
Ryan just made me realize that I probably made an egregious mistake by having the Vikings at 5. I think I had Seattle, and if I remember correctly, Seattle beat Minnesota 2 weeks ago on either Sunday or Monday Night Football.
But
They
I don't
did,
think
it doesn't matter.
I don't think it's fair to just go by head-to-head
It's
situations
not.
because
No.
it doesn't mean one team is better than the other.
I agree.
I only say that when they're in the division and their records are near identical, because then that's the tiebreaker.
Of course.
Okay.
So I'm saying I think Seattle's going to win the division because they're ended up beating the Niners. That's all.
Right. No, and that's right. But I do feel like if they played again today on a neutral field, Seattle would probably win that game. But you never know. Thielen didn't play that day. He's a big X factor in that game. So I had the Chiefs at number 3. I just think that they're so explosive, so dynamic, and they're starting to really put it together. It wouldn't shock me if they can moved up here in the last 3 weeks, depending how it goes for my number 1 and 2 teams. All right, number 2, Hunter.
I have
Brody.
the San Francisco 49ers. Something you mentioned before one of the breaks was the Eagles' 2017 run being magical. Well, there is something about this 49ers team that is just magical to me. I can't explain it. I don't know how to really describe it. I mean, when you dial in the X's and O's, their defense is great. They get a lot of pressure and all that. But when it comes down to it, there's just a magical sense coming out of the 49ers.
All right, then.
Number 2 for me is Nolans and the Saints, 10-3. You talk about magic and the Niners. I think there's something magical going on with the Saints, and I won't be surprised if they're in the Super Bowl. That's not a shocking take, but they're playing very well this year.
No, I've got the 49ers at number 2. They beat the Saints. They've obviously hung tight with the Ravens the week before that. They're proving themselves, as Hunter said, week in, week out, to be one of the top teams in the NFL. And, of course, I think we all probably have the same number 1 team. Is that accurate? The Baltimore Ravens?
The Ravens.
Isn't that crazy to think about? I mean,
wait, real quick. Who thinks the Ravens are winning the Super Bowl? Honestly, right now.
You don't think so? Is that what we're getting at
I
here?
don't.
Well, I'm not as confident as other teams, though. It's not like I'm looking at other teams saying, wow, they are definitely doing it. I think it's wide open.
If I said you got to pick one team right now to win the Super Bowl, is it Baltimore or any other team?
Well, any other team, because I got more of a chance here. Now I'm strategically thinking
about this.
I'm
not asking you to put money on it.
Listen,
Answer the question.
I'm answering the question. I'm going with the other teams. There's more options to win.
Man, Gil Jr. over there.
What do you mean?
I'm going with any other team.
Real quick, Baltimore or other team?
Any other team.
So it's amazing. We all have them as number one, but none of us really think they are definitely winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That just shows how wide open it is. It doesn't really mean that the Ravens aren't that good, though.
All right. That's true. I agree with you.